Manassas, Virginia. A street of quiet lawns and quieter secrets. Behind this window, something was coming that no one saw. This is her story. This is her crime. Lorena Gallo was born in Ecuador and raised in Venezuela before moving to the United States in her teens, chasing a version of the American dream that would soon curdle into something else entirely. In 1988, she met John Wayne Bobbitt, a young Marine. Their courtship moved fast. Within a year, they were married, a union that outsiders saw as ordinary, even happy. But behind closed doors, friends would later say, the marriage soured quickly. Financial strain, jealousy, and control crept into the relationship, isolating Lorena from the people around her. Lorena would later testify that the abuse was not only emotional. She described years of violence, humiliation, and fear, a private reality starkly different from the couple neighbors thought they knew. To the outside world, they seemed unremarkable. A young couple in a quiet Virginia neighborhood, the kind of home you'd walk past without a second glance. On the night of June 23rd, 1993, something inside that house broke. Lorena would later say it was the final act in a long pattern of abuse she had endured in silence. In the hours before dawn, Lorena left the house and got into her car. In her hand was a kitchen knife. What happened next would make headlines around the world. During the drive, Lorena severed her husband's penis. She continued driving, disoriented, before eventually throwing the object out of the car window into a field along the roadside. Police were called. A search team combed the field for hours before locating the object. It was recovered and rushed, packed in ice, to the hospital where John Wayne Bobbitt had been taken. In a delicate 9-hour surgery, doctors successfully reattached what had been severed. The case, already extraordinary, was about to become one of the most talked-about trials in American history. By morning, the story had broken. Newsrooms across the country scrambled to cover it. What began as a local police report became a national obsession almost overnight. Talk shows, tabloids, and late-night comedians seized on the story. For many, it became a punchline. For others, it opened a long overdue conversation about domestic abuse. Lorena was arrested and charged with malicious wounding, a felony that could carry decades in prison. Her defense would rest entirely on the abuse she said she had endured for years. As the case unfolded, John Wayne Bobbitt's own past came under scrutiny. Prior allegations of violence against Lorena would later surface, complicating the public's understanding of who the true victim was. In January 1994, the trial began. Prosecutors argued a deliberate act of violence. The defense argued something else entirely. A woman pushed, they said, beyond the point of reason. On the stand, Lorena described years of abuse in graphic detail, humiliation, violence, and a marriage she said had left her in a state of psychological collapse. Medical experts took the stand for both sides, debating the state of Lorena's mind in the moments before the attack. A debate that would decide the entire outcome of the trial. Outside the courthouse, the media circus only grew. Vendors sold souvenirs. Crowds gathered daily. The trial had become less a legal proceeding and more a cultural spectacle. After days of testimony, the case went to the jury. Millions across the country waited for a verdict that would come to define the era's conversation on domestic violence. On January 21st, 1994, the jury returned its verdict. Lorena Bobbitt was found not guilty by reason of insanity. The courtroom and the country reacted with disbelief. She was ordered to undergo psychiatric evaluation. After 45 days of observation, doctors determined she posed no further threat, and she was released. For years, the case lived on mostly as a punchline, reduced to tabloid jokes and late-night monologues, its darker core often overlooked entirely. In the decades since, the conversation has shifted. Lorena has spent much of her later life as an advocate against domestic violence, founding a non-profit dedicated to supporting survivors. The house still stands today, unremarkable from the outside. One more quiet street holding a story most passers-by will never know took place behind its walls. John Wayne Bobbitt survived the attack. Her case forced America to ask who was really the victim